They warned me not to go. Locals whispered and crossed themselves at the mention of the name Count Dracula. But I, Jonathan Harker, a solicitor from London, had business to attend to. The Count wished to purchase an estate in England, and it was my duty to finalize the paperwork, no matter how strange the client or distant the castle. My journey took me deep into the Carpathian Mountains, where peasants made the sign of the cross at his name and refused to travel the road after dark. It was evening when I arrived at Castle Dracula, hidden high in the mountains of Transylvania. The carriage had dropped me off in silence, and when the great doors creaked open, the Count stood waiting, tall, pale, eyes like burning coals. He greeted me with perfect politeness, though his touch was cold as stone. From the start, something was wrong. There were no mirrors in the castle. The Count never ate with me, though he offered me food. I never saw him during daylight hours, and at night, strange sounds echoed through the halls, scratching, whispering, howls from somewhere below. I found my room locked from the outside. When I wandered through the castle, I discovered crypts beneath the foundation. One evening, I fell asleep in a forbidden room and awoke to find 3 women with skin like marble and mouths like daggers. They called to me, touched me. One leaned close, baring her teeth, and Dracula appeared, snarling like a beast. "You shall not touch him," he said. "He is mine." He drove them away and dragged me back to my room. I knew then I was not just a prisoner. I was a meal being saved. One night, I saw the Count scale the outer wall of the castle like a spider, his body clinging unnaturally to the stone. I knew I had to escape, so I fled from my window, down the cliffside, into the black forests below. I was found weeks later, half dead, in a convent. They nursed me back to health, but then he had already arrived in England. Dracula had come by ship. The entire crew was found either missing or dead. Only the captain remained, tied to the wheel, eyes frozen in horror. The ship adrift and empty as a coffin. Soon, strange events gripped the city. A pale, beautiful woman and friend of my fiancée, named Lucy Westenra, fell ill. Each morning, she was weaker than the day before. She spoke of red eyes in the dark and felt something cold pressing on her throat in her dreams, and on her neck, tiny puncture marks. Lucy's condition baffled every doctor. Her friend, Dr. Seward, summoned his old mentor, Professor Abraham Van Helsing, a man well-versed in folklore and the supernatural. Van Helsing recognized the signs immediately. "She is being drained," he told us, "by something unholy." Though we tried to protect her, garlic flowers, crucifixes, vigil nights, it wasn't enough. Lucy died. But our story didn't end there. Children began disappearing from the city. Some were found dazed. Speaking of a beautiful lady who smiled with sharp teeth. Van Helsing led us to Lucy's crypt, and when we opened her coffin at night, it was empty. That night, we waited. She came drifting like a ghost in her burial ground, her mouth red with blood. She reached for a child when we stopped her. We did what had to be done. We drove a stake through her heart, sealed her tomb, and said a prayer. We formed a pack, myself, Van Helsing, Dr. Seward, Arthur Holmwood, and the brave Texan, Quincy Morris. Together, we vowed to destroy Dracula, but the Count wasn't done. He had already begun to prey on Mina, my beloved fiancée. He had already begun to visit her in the night. We discovered her one evening in a trance, with Dracula's shadow looming over her. His mouth was at her throat. Worse, he had forced her to drink his blood, binding her to him forever. Mina was now linked to him. She could sense his thoughts, his movements. Van Helsing used this connection to track him as he fled to England, returning to his castle in Transylvania, where he would be strongest again. We pursued him by ship and rail, cutting off his escape routes. Meanwhile, Dracula traveled hidden in one of his crates, a coffin filled with Transylvanian soil, the only earth in which he could rest. His followers tried to stop us, but we pressed on. In the snowy wilderness of Transylvania, just before sunset, we finally caught up to him. His caravan was surrounded. In a fierce battle, we fought off his protectors. Quincy was mortally wounded in the struggle, and just as darkness began to fall, Quincy Morris, the brave Texan among us, drove a knife through Dracula's heart while I slashed his throat. Dracula screamed a horrible, gurgling sound and collapsed into dust. His body crumbled. His eyes turned to ash. The curse was broken. Mina's mark faded. Her soul was saved. Quincy, however, died from his wounds, smiling, knowing he had helped destroy a great evil. Years have passed since the terrible journey. Mina and I married. We named our son after those who fought beside us: Seward, Van Helsing, Arthur, and brave Quincy. But sometimes, in the dark corners of memory, I see those red eyes again, and I wonder if evil could ever truly be destroyed, or if it only waits to be reborn.